It's always a pleasure to be here, and thanks to for PGRI, thanks to everybody who's putting it on. That is I am Terry Presta, head of business North America for Abacus Solutions, and that is the name of the presentation, Storm Crowds Gathering. Not trying to be too ominous, Paul, but we wanted to make sure we set the table properly. I think a lot of people know that things are changing in the competitive world in gaming, and we wanted to talk about that a little bit just to make sure everybody's on the same page. And last year at the directors conference in Nashville, everybody knows Scott Gunn, head of government relations for IGT, very good at what he does, got his pulse on almost everything. And at that conference, there's a roundtable where you get to ask questions back and forth, and it's really interesting. And the very first question that came up for Scott was, "Hey Scott, tell us what's going on in sportsbook." And I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember exactly word for word what he said, but he basically said, "Hey, that's over. The casinos have won, the casinos have got 33 or 35 of them, whatever the number was, and we're moving on from that." And so my only point being, and I know some of the states have got a piece of that, and that's great, but the casinos now own that business, so they control that, and they're going to control those customers in their app. And my point would be, I guess, that some of those customers are your customers, and they're going to continue to grow. So both sportsbook and casinos have made an entry into, into what was before your sandbox, or our sandbox in a lottery. I can play sportsbook in Kansas, and I do, but I can't play the Kansas lottery games online. So how crazy is that? So, and there are other people that are aggregating your customers, or they're trying to capture your customers, and that's fine. That's a competitive world, and that's just what happens. But we at least wanted to make sure we all started from the same page. So believe it or not, Abacus has a recommendation what that means or how we should react to that. Obviously, the retail partners have always been the strength of the lottery business. Thousands, some states, tens of thousands of retailers are selling your product, redeeming your winners, doing all the stuff that you need them to do to be successful, and we think we should strengthen that. We should improve the customer experience. That's always a good idea. SCO, or self-checkout, is growing. You all know that. Some of this stuff is absolutely redundant, because some of these things, obviously, and we think your solution should be slick. And by that I mean, we had a solution early on that was supposedly in-lane that was more complicated than just buying it through the terminal. And if you're going to improve the customer experience and improve things, it should be a factor, not just marginally better. It should be a factor of times better. And we think that's an important distinction to remember. We can help you improve the accounting with your retailers. There's been a lot, as we talk to retailers, there's a lot of interest in that. And also, I think once we get integrated in more and more states, you'll be able to attract other retail partners that maybe aren't selling lottery now. But the one thing you don't want to do is stand pat and paralysis by analysis. We think that's a mistake, for sure. Abacus, why we do it, technology is ever evolving. People have been talking about that today. It's faster and faster. We're evolving. What we talked about 2 years ago is not what we have now. We've evolved our products quite a bit. And we have a fully managed service. We manage almost everything on the retail side. So you don't have to do much of that as a lottery. And we do work with the retailers, the point-of-sale providers, the lotteries, and the gaming system. And that is both the opportunity and the challenge, right, to get all four of them together in geosynchronous orbit at the same time. It is a challenge. I don't mind telling you that, and it's probably been a bit of a bigger challenge with the retailers than we expected. And we do meet all the requirements of security, et cetera, that are important in this industry. We do have a fully managed solution. These are some of the people we're working with. So that's kind of the idea, is that we will integrate with these point-of-sale people to allow you to sell products through their register system seamlessly. And that's kind of our deal, and that is a challenge. But NCR, Toshiba, Lock, Fujitsu, GK Software, actually going live, and we'll talk about that a little bit in Iowa with both GK and Lock are the first two up to bat. They did a you should always know what your customers are thinking, I suppose, and they did a survey with the top retailer executives, and they asked them what's on your mind, what is concerning you. And of course, one thing that always comes up, 35% of the people said the top thing that they are worried about or they're concerned about or they're working on was growth. I'm surprised that wasn't really 100%, because in retail you always have to grow, and you even see it in your lotteries or any business. Your costs are coming up from beneath, and if you're not growing the top line, you're going to have a problem eventually. So that's really not that surprising, and the lottery can help with that, obviously. 27% customer user experience, and we think that's where we come in. We can help with that. We can improve that or help work with you to improve that. And that kind of goes back to number one. You improve the customer experience, most people know you're going to grow your sales. And the same thing, they're worried about technology modernization, which again is down our line. We think that's what we do. We help modernize the lottery experience and help you sell more product. So what are we up to? I mentioned it briefly in Iowa. We're really excited to be finally launching in the U.S. market, something that we need to do so we can get some data and show people actually what can happen. We're going to have, by the end of the year, 345 stores, 2 great regional grocers and a convenience store group, and very excited about that, as I mentioned. We also did a deal with Blackhawk. We have a partnership with Blackhawk where we're going to run their lottery business for Quick Ticket 2. And what's nice about that is, if you have Blackhawk retailers in your state, and everybody does, and they're mostly the big box grocers and drug and et cetera, is we can get in there a little quicker. There's no development. That API is already there. We can develop quicker. I think another nice thing about Quick Ticket 2 is it puts a face on the product. One of the things you don't have, that you have an instance, you have a ticket that has a face, and you don't have that. But when you peg everything like they do, then you have that peg, and they can see the product. Now, consumers have to get used to buying it that way, but that's one of the nice things. So we'll be converting some of the stuff that they already have, and there's some other states that we're working with. And we think there could be a very good relationship where maybe you put, if you can get in quick with Quick Ticket 2, and then you bring print on receipt later, and maybe you keep them both. That'll just develop in each state, however the lottery and the CGS seems to want to do it. We do have a self-checkout, obviously SCO. Everybody knows SCO is growing. I don't have to tell you that as well. It's growing probably faster than we ever thought. Even the C stores are really starting to get into SCO. And obviously, if you don't go there, C stores are still the bread and butter of lottery sales. And if you don't go there and all of a sudden half of their customers are going somewhere where they can't buy lottery, that's a problem. So we want to help add it to SCO. We are live in Lotto Quebec. I've got a quick little film that I will start here. And this is kind of futuristic, isn't it? This is actually in their sales center, and they are demonstrating this to retailers. And if it was in a grocery store, they would also be enabled for the grocers, of course. You'd be buying your groceries, and then you'd also have the ability to pick your lottery products at the end of the sale, or add it into your basket, as we see them doing here. And of course, they have different games, but then they pay for it with their credit card, and then here we come. Out comes the game. So you get the receipt, just like our printer on receipt here. You get both the receipt and the games off your printer. So we've also acquired Playport Games and app. Playport has a digital program, and we think digital instants need to be in your portfolio. Obviously, traditional instants will be around for a long time, maybe forever, but they'll be for a long time. But there's also a segment of your demographic that wants to play on their phone. They want to play digitally, and we can provide that through the Playport digital instance, as most people knew them before. And we also acquired their app. So we have an app now, And in the future, we kind of see a registered play will be mostly done on the app, and you'll have the ability to pick your own numbers, etc. Not to slow down the queue will happen on the app. And the app can be embedded. It can be embedded in your loyalty program, or the retailers, or both. A lot of flexibility there, but we think that's an important opportunity. Okay, this is actually I think the most important screen, the last two screens. I think what I'd like to say is that instead of reading it verbatim, Abacus sees itself not as we're not trying to sell you a product. We're not trying to sell you in-lane. We really see ourselves as an important component of distribution. We're that gateway, or that switch in the middle that is going to allow you to do business with your retailers however you want to do it. And our CEO, Simon Butler, says all the time, we're not a content provider. We're not a central gaming system. We're definitely not a lottery, obviously. We just sit in the middle, and we're going to facilitate what you, the lottery, with your CGS, decide is an important game that you want to sell. And we think that when we get connected, we will allow a lot of innovation, a lot of experimentation without as much cost to be able to hook together. And right now, everything's monolithic, right? Everything that's in every store or in every terminal. But in the future, you would be able to do different games for different retailers if you wanted, and develop special things. And we really see that as a modernization piece for the lottery business that allow you to, if we go back to slide 1, will allow you to do what you need to do to compete. But we do not feel like it's our job. In fact, we're not trying to tell you what to sell. We're starting with the 2 products that came out of the Retail Modernization Committee, but it's really up to the central gaming systems and the lottery to develop your program and new programs or whatever. We simply see ourselves as modernizing distribution. And I don't think that's always been made, maybe that's my fault. We haven't always made that point clear, but that's really what we think. Because we do want to maximize, traditional sales, the lottery, and sports betting if you have it, if you're one of the few that are able to do that. We want to help you compete with other forms of gaming, which goes back again to the first slide. We want to provide new opportunities and touch points, and we want to recapture lost sales that might happen, if you don't modernize, and we want to allow expansion into a new retail base. So that is the presentation. That's exactly what we're doing. And I hope if you remember nothing else, just remember that point that I said, that we see like we're modernizing distribution, and that's our goal. Thank you.